So I'm Glenn Deen. I'm from Comcast NBC Universal. Although really today here I'm to talk about this thing called EDDI, the Encrypted DNS Deployment Initiative that we helped sort of start off and create. But after that, it's intended to be a community engagement and a place for people to come to talk about the issues, while the ITF will do the specifications and that kind of work. There's a lot of technical work around actually deploying this and getting it right. One of our goals in doing this is we want to deploy encrypted DNS, but we don't want to break the existing uses of DNS in the wild, because that will produce a lot of very unhappy users. And unhappy users are bad for business. So I thought I'd talk to you first. Yes. Do I need to point? There we go. Somebody's clicking for me. All right. So I thought, before I tell you what we did at the meeting today, I thought I'd tell you what EDDI is. So this is from our homepage. If you go to encrypted-dns.org, you'll see this if you click on to find more information. And if you visit there as well, you can also click and see the list of supporting participants, we call them, but anybody can participate. It's wide open, it's public. There's no membership required, no membership fees. It's just come and join and be part of the conversation. It's wide open. It's also very public, so our archive is there as well of our email lists. It's completely public. We don't edit it, we don't do anything. It's very transparent. But we brought this together, a very broad collection. Paul, a very distinguished person in the DNS world, is listed up there as Paul Monkapetris, the inventor of DNS, is listed as a supporter of the effort. You have major ISPs, technology companies from around the world listed there. You have RARs listed there, and you have groups like the EFF. And that's pretty significant, I tell you. If you see groups like the EFF and then groups like Comcast, which are often people would like to brand us as always being the opposite side of things. Well, here's the case where it clearly isn't the opposite sides of things. We're together trying to do the right thing. And we've listed our names together to try to say, hey, this is important. Let's come together, let's make this thing work, and let's do it successfully. So there's our objective. Deploy it, and deploy it properly. How do you do that? So EDDI will do the following things. We're going to strive to define, adopt it, basically. We're going to strive to get it right. We're going to seek to enhance the privacy. In other words, we're going to take a look at the whole ecosystem, and where it comes to things like the policy around data and logs, EDDI is going to strive to talk about the technical aspects and get that right too. And finally, best practices, right? How do we do this? How's the community of operators and community of adopters going to tackle this thing? That's what EDDI is going to work on. How do we do that? Well, we bring people together to talk. So that's what we did today. We've had 4 working sessions now, I call them Meetups, where we basically put people in a room and we say, let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the problems you're facing. Let's talk about potential approaches. Let's organize. Let's get together. Let's be a community. And anybody who's been in the room has heard me say all the time, and let's be kind to one another, because we have a lot of different strong opinions in the room. And we got a lot of smart people with different opinions, and let's respect each other and let's engage. And the community in that room is doing a great job of it. We haven't had a single, in 4 meetings, anybody getting, you're wrong and I'm right. That isn't the way we do things. It's very calm, very collegial. So, how to participate? It's very simple. Go to that website. There is a mailing list you can sign up for. It takes 30 seconds, you push a button. When you're also on that website, take a look at it. We've drafted some good antitrust policies contributed by some very good lawyers so that we can do this right and not get people into trouble. And there's also IP policies there. Basically, we don't want your IP. Don't send us your inventions. Keep them for yourselves. Join us in the mailing list and the conversation. Join us in the GitHub where we're putting use cases and documenting other things. And when we have EDDI meetings in your area, come and join us. And if they're not in your area, travel a little bit and come join us. So we had one of those meetings today. This is what we talked about. This is what our agenda was. We talked about what happened at IETF 106. IETF is pretty central to all this stuff. They created the DoH protocol specification, and they're going to hopefully create a lot of the other protocols that are going to solve some of the lingering problems we have around things like discovery. We talked about what went on in Berlin last week at the IGF. So this is, again, people sharing their experiences, sharing their knowledge, sharing their vision collaboratively. And we welcome all views. You don't have to be pro-DoH, you don't have to be anti-DoH, all views. We talked about encrypted DNS. Paul came and talked to us about some of his visions, and I think he's going to come up and talk right after I'm done here and cover some good ground. We talked about resolver discovery issues. So one of the things that's emerging as one of the chief technical things to tackle next, it seems, is how do you connect clients who want to use DoH to find a proper DoH resolver, and how do you do it properly such that you're respecting the wishes of the user, while at the same time not breaking existing use cases of how we use the DNS. It's a very important thing to get right. We talked about a taxonomy of language. So as we're all coming together, one of the things that is I think maybe unique about EDDI and or DoH in general is that in the past, a lot of the DNS stuff has been really relegated to the realm of the deep DNS nerds, people that lived and breathed that stuff. And suddenly, we're getting rooms full of people who don't do DNS for a living and haven't done it for the last 20 years and aren't steeped in it daily, coming together to talk about DoH and DNS and things around it. So, one of the important things is to have a good taxonomy of terms and language so that when we talk to one another, we know what each other's talking about, what we're trying to say. Otherwise, it's just a lot of noise without any constructive dialogue. So we're talking about taxonomy. The taxonomy then feeds into actual use cases, because my vision of how do we evaluate these various solutions that will be coming out of places like the IETF is to have a bunch of use cases that talk about how we use DNS, both use it today and ways people envision using it in the future, so that any solution that does come out, we can evaluate it against a set of technical use cases that have been vetted by the larger community and say, what does it break? What does it support? What do we need to change to make things work? And for those things that we can't make work, how do we address that? How do we talk, first to identify them, how do we communicate that to the people that are going to be impacted by them? And then finally, we talked about next steps in future meetings. So if you want to get involved, we're talking about having another meeting here in London. And the EDDI meetings are fairly technical. I'll warn you. We do not hold back. We will throw the acronyms around with the best of them. And we will get down in the dirty weeds quite happily. But we're looking probably over the last week of January in 2020 here in London to have another EDDI meetup. We're working very hard to schedule one around what's called the DNS OARC meeting just ahead of NANOG in San Francisco in February. And then we're planning a side meeting at the IETF 107 meeting in March in Vancouver. So that's the upcoming meetings. In fact, if I do it right there, has all that information. So come on and participate. This is a set of problems that are impacting all of us, and the way we're going to get through it and get it right is by working everybody together to find a solution. Thank you. Oh, and finally, there's some quick links if you want to take a picture. I think they're going to distribute these, but that's where our work is done. Paul, you're up.